Hi, it's Lilia from Heal Scotland here, and I have with me the wonderful Jennifer Philip-Main, who is a theta healer amongst lots of other things. And Jennifer came to the community to help me with the pilot project Heal Scotland, and she's also been with me from the very first Goddess gathering and has been a staunch supporter, and her skills and experience and support have been invaluable to the mission that we're on. So thank you for joining me again today, Jen. Do you want to start just by telling these guys what it is that you do? Because yes. What is theta healing? And I know that you're much more than that, so can you explain it to people for those that don't know?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. And thanks for having me. So I realized I've been doing theta healing now for 8 years. No, 10, maybe 10 years, 10 years. And I started off, it was really just my own kind of spiritual and healing journey that got me into healing. And I had no intention of being a teacher or a practitioner or anything like that. But when I started to work within the theta healing modality, something clicked for me. And what I like about it is that it's a really great kind of marriage or combination of the psychology and the subconscious and very grounded understanding of how, changing your emotional state, changing your belief systems, how that has a massive impact on your choices and your habits and your behaviors. But it's also got the energetic component to it. So it's not just sitting talking about your stuff that you've been talking about for 20 years. It's really looking at the energy that's held within that and really digging into and understanding the why that you're holding on to it. And so that's what I love about it. It's really getting into the why. And I think anything that you can do that helps create a deeper understanding of who you really are and why you're really here is worthwhile and worth doing. So that's how I've been teaching courses and working with that I've been teaching for about 7 or 8 years. So it's been good.
So you do private sessions and you also teach people how, talk us through the levels of courses that you teach.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot, but it's one of those things where you can do as much or as little as you want. And so some people come and do, there's a 3-day basic, 3-day advanced, 2-day kind of dig deeper course where you're really looking at the subconscious. And those are kind of the foundation courses. So some people do 1 or 2 or 3 of the foundation and either integrate it with what they're already doing. So a lot of my students are like hypnotherapy, NLP, Reiki masters, massage therapists, things like that. So they find that it either fills in some gaps or just works really well with what they're already doing. So some people do that. Or there's people like me who's like, I want to learn everything. And so we have classes, like there's an intuitive anatomy class where you really learn how to scan the body and really understand the emotions and the belief systems held in certain bodies that contribute to illness or problems within that. We have a world relations class, which is one of my favorites, where you're really understanding how your ancestral or perhaps past life experiences in your life. So when you're meeting somebody for the first time, you may already feel angry or upset and not know why. And it could be because your ancestors and their ancestors fought 200 years ago, and your DNA is just saying that person's not safe.
Yes.
So, I mean, for me, stuff like this is really the path to world peace, because if we can all resolve our own internal conflict, then we're not fighting with the people around us. And then there's also some of the more advanced level courses are more around kind of consciousness and energy and really looking at the ways we limit ourselves. We are human. We forget that we're divine. We forget that we're these energetic beings. And so we kind of say, well, that's impossible, or it's not going to work that way. So it's just really pushing those boundaries of what can we really do, because we are these amazing energetic beings. Those are really fun.
Yes, and when you came to the community quite early. You did some of that ancestral work, which is something that fascinates me. I mean, even science is now saying, well, that there's memory coming through the DNA. And I know when I did my nutritional healing course, we looked at great grandparents down. That we took as much information as we could get from just that short back, because I know it can go way up with the emotion codes Dr. Bradley Nelson talks about. I mean, it can go back for you know, double numbers.
Loads, yeah.
And how that helps us, like you were saying, to understand who we are. But in terms of healing, which is really the sort of focus, you know, that of Heal Scotland is very much about, let's change the trajectory of our health picture from one of the worst in the world to one of the best in the world, and because we can. And anybody who has not met Scottish people will realise that if they put their mind to do something, they'll do it. Because so many people have said to me, you know, it'll never work, you'll never do it. And I'm like, it's already working. People are already getting on board.
You know, so when I realize when I'm talking about you to other people, the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, I'm like, Lilia is just not going to let anything get in her way. She's just going to go do it. Whether people come, she's just going to go. It's so true. There's no messing around. It's just going to happen.
Well, I think, you know, when we talk and think at the level of energy, like you and I obviously have been doing for some time, everything's much easier when you think of things in terms of energy. When you think in terms of solid human beings filled with limiting beliefs and negativity and resistance, then absolutely, yes, that would appear to be an impossible task. But when you start to actually think on thought level, emotion level, perception level, and obviously just this massive shift in consciousness, you know, this movement wouldn't even have got off the ground 10 years ago. This is the time. People are waking up to their power. And, you know, in the community, we had this phenomenal success rate where not everybody healed every disease. Obviously, it would have been a lot to ask on the first one in 12 weeks. But every single person that was there had profound changes and improvements in their pain, in their symptoms, in their attitude, and their ability to love the body and love themselves. And they went home, obviously, with all these little tools. People take different ones, and that's why I think it's so great to learn different things, because at different parts of your either healing journey or spiritual expansion, certain tools suddenly start to come to work that maybe didn't attract you so much 6 months ago. So, you know, the idea with the community was to give them a really beautiful selection of protocols and tools and help them tune in to what they needed in this moment, which could be different from next year or last year. So tell me what your thoughts about the community were and what you saw in terms of what the challenges would be like when we do the next one.
Yeah, so I think when I arrived, it was maybe the third or fourth week, so it was fairly early on. And I think it's still in that, and I find this with courses too, that the beginnings of courses, you know, when you bring a group of people together, everybody's still trying to figure out, you know, where do I fit in? Who am I while I'm here? You know, do I want to change that and have that be different than who I usually am? Or am I wanting to stay set in that? So it's always an interesting time, and it's a time where people are kind of testing each other and seeing what's going to work and what's not going to work. Because when you come into a situation, especially, you know, I know not everybody was going to stay for the 12 weeks, so some people did bits and pieces, but when you go into a situation where it's all new, it's a whole new environment, it's a whole new group of people, it's a new way of eating, a new way of communicating, I mean, that takes courage, like for real, that takes courage for anybody. So I think courageous people are the ones who are really saying, okay, stuff in my life is not working. I'm not quite sure of what to change. So let me go find a new way. So anybody who's doing things like this, where they're really shaking up their lives and making things different, I think should be proud of themselves for the courage that they are.
Absolutely. Huge respect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's really about, because again, when you go into new things, naturally on a subconscious level, your defenses start to go up. But the more defensive you are, the less open you are to things changing and less open you are to trying new things. And so, I mean, with anything like this, again, it's really allowing yourself to surrender to the experience. And it doesn't mean giving up who you are or losing yourself in it, but it is just really allowing yourself to say, well, now's an opportunity for me to try something new. And it may not work, but I might love it, and it might be the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I think that's anytime I go into a situation where there's a healing experience or it's a meditation or there's an opportunity for growth, that's one of the first intentions I set with, I'm going to surrender to this. I'm just going to allow myself to go into it. And again, that takes some courage, and that takes sometimes a bit of, maybe a little bit of convincing yourself, but but it is that thing, if you've gotten there, it's about really just taking advantage of that opportunity. So surrender is the big thing for me this year. I'm like, everybody just surrender. Stop fighting.
The two words that always come up for me are trust and surrender. Trust and surrender. And I did a workshop on constellations with an amazing dance therapy teacher at the festival I was just at, and my God, was I uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And I was like standing back, that you did at school when you were like, don't pick me, which of course means that you're going to get picked. And of course I got picked to play this girl's dad. And then I was like, what is the big problem here for you? And then it came up, realised it was two things. One, I've done so many things before where you do a meditation and you go down to the steps and open a door and you meet your spirit guide, and I never do, and everybody else seems to. So there was that level of like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And then there was the, I was out of my comfort zone in terms of I didn't know anybody, and I was there on my own. So there was just that, reminded me of when I was traveling last year, where you are putting yourself out there a little bit, and you're just, part of you wants to go, oh, let me just go back to the hostel. Let me go back to the bed. So that was really interesting, and also good to remember how it feels, because obviously when you do so much work in yourself and fear's not really something that is that big an issue anymore, you do forget. It's like when you're fit, you forget what it's like to be unfit. And when I even had the arthritis experience, I thought, I'm just getting shown and I'm getting reminded what it's like to have pain in the body, so that you can actually have more compassion for others. So when you're doing, what kind of problems do people come to you with, and what do you see? Is there anything particular that works best for something, or what? Tell me.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I kind of get a little bit of everything. I'm really interested in the physical body, so I get a lot of people coming with physical issues because I just find it fascinating and like to work with it, and find that I'm pretty good at that. I also get a lot of people, and I think this is where my kind of specialty lies, is I get people, well, I tend to get people who are intuitive, sensitive, psychic, whatever word you want to use for that, because that's what I am, and I just know what they're going through and know how to help them through it.
Yes.
And I also tend to get people who are creatives, artists, leaders in their field. So people who are that kind of pioneering spirit, which is why we connect, really. So I get people who are really willing to push that comfort zone. And that's the work that I really love. And I find that people come to me when they're at that verge, they're at that step where they know it's time to step up, where they know it's time to take that next transition or change. But there may be one foot in, one foot out, and wanting a bit more clarity or some support, or just, whatever they need to let go of that. So that kind of includes people from kind of all walks of life, all realms, all businesses and things. But I do really, because my thing is, I want to work with people who are ready to heal and change and grow. I want people who are leaders. These are the people who I want to work with. And so that's what I get. I get people who are really clear their purpose, that they are here to live it and be of service to the world. And so it's fun.
Love it. But listen, you can see energy, can't you? And things.
Yeah. All the things.
It fascinates everyone I know when you come to the Goddess Gala, and everybody's like, what can you see? So tell us a little bit about that, and when that started, and has it developed?
Well, so I've been very intuitive since I was a child, and I can look, and at the time I didn't understand it because nobody around me was talking about it. I didn't have family who understood that, or that was part of their paradigm. But I was always very empathic and could feel everything that was going on with other people, which made it really difficult for me because I didn't want to hug people or touch people because it just felt overwhelming. Like even happy, kind, loving people, it just felt really overwhelming. So I had to learn how to work with that in my life. And then, and I've also been very visual. So I could see a lot as a child, and I didn't always see the fun, nice things. So, so I spent a lot of time working to kind of try to block all that off over the years. And you know, I was afraid of the dark until I was in my 30s, honestly. Yeah. And it was that, you know, I'm a grounded person. I'm a logical person in a lot of ways. And so I couldn't understand. I thought I had an overactive imagination. That's what I told myself. And I couldn't understand why all this was going on. And then when I started to really understand intuition and psychic senses, I was like, oh, I get it now. I understand all that now. So for me, when I really stepped into kind of doing the healing work, it was an opportunity for me to understand my intuition and my psychic senses so that I wasn't afraid of them anymore. So they have developed more because I've allowed them to. And this is what I really want to put across to people, because people think that psychic people are special or it's a gift or it's a, you know, everybody is psychic. Everybody is intuitive. We are energetic beings. We are meant to connect with the energy around us and read it and understand it. The only reason we don't do it is because we're afraid. It's just our fears that get in the way and complicate it and make it difficult for us, which then can create physical issues in the body. That's what my migraines were all about. Because it was me trying to control and hold all this stuff out. Whereas when I learned that it was actually okay, that there was nothing that could hurt me, and it was giving me a better understanding of the world around me, visual and non, then I could embrace that. And now the way I think about it is, if you allow yourself to use your intuition instead of the tiny percentage of the world that we can see, hear, feel with our physical senses, you get the full picture. So instead of these little bits with loads of blind spots, you get it all. So it's when you allow yourself to be intuitive and psychic, you get to see the whole truth. You get to know the whole truth. And this is how we're supposed to live. So people are like, oh, it's weird or strange, or only certain people can do it. And I'm like, no, I'll do it. It's just allowing yourself.
Ultimately, then that's where freedom lies, where, you know, you just know. And I think most of us do that to a degree. Yes. But it's, you know, I had a conversation with a friend I hadn't seen for a long time, and he was saying he'd been at a beach and he saw this woman go up to the bar at 10 o'clock in the morning and order a bottle of champagne, and he thought, I bet she's high maintenance. And she came over to him later and said, you're right, I am high maintenance.
It's so much fun to read.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, you know, the responsibility for your thoughts and what you're thinking and directing at people. You know, Bruce Lipton goes on about that a lot. You know, you're putting it out there, even although you know, there's the energy, flow of energy. And as people become more psychic, you're not going to get away with thinking these kind of judgmental about people, because
and
the field.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the other side of that is people spend so much time and energy and effort trying to block off their energy because they're trying to hide themselves. But the reality is that everybody can see truth. We all have access to truth. There's no point in trying to hide who you are or trying to hide the things you judge about yourselves, because actually most of the stuff we judge about ourselves isn't true anyway. So this is where the healing is important, because if you can just go in, then you can just be who you are, and people can see and know who you are, and you're all comfortable with it.
Make it sound so simple.
I mean, I think that's my purpose in life, is just to simplify all the nonsense that we get caught up in. I'm like, here's what's going on.
100%.
Make it simple and clear and efficient. Let's do this. Quit messing around. Let's just get this done.
100%. I think there's so much on offer out there now. I'm doing a protocols workshop tonight, and I did one in Glasgow a couple of weeks ago, and it's just like that. It's like, right, as Carolyn May says, liars don't heal. Here's a chart.
So true.
Pick the things that you're going to do, and every day document what you actually have done and what you didn't do, and then you don't need to bullshit anyone.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, I used to think that about if you could just video people the way they're behaving and then they could see it back, they would see it straight away, you know. And it is that whole, like, just if you really have something to heal, you know, going to a NOD class here and reading a NOD book, that's not, the knowledge isn't what heals us. Other people don't heal us. It's what we do ourselves. So a friend of mine had been saying about, you know, her therapist had said, it's not the hour with me that the healing happens, it's the space in between the sessions when you do the work on yourself. And certainly with the, you know, all we're understanding about neuroscience and neuroplasticity now, it's that practice. And that's what we saw in the community. It was the daily, everyday practice, because in actual fact, they didn't do a huge amount. So what's been your experience with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that is what I like about the work I do, is that, you know, we're digging into things and I'm asking people questions for them to get the answers themselves. I'm not giving them all the answers. I'm not telling them what to do, because everybody has the answers within them. They know what needs to happen. Sometimes it's just providing a space and helping them to uncover that for themselves. And I've seen this before where people just go and do healing and healing and healing and healing. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you actually changing in your life? And they're like, well, nothing. I'm like, well, that's why you have to keep doing the healing. It's because you're just recreating what you are changing within those sessions. So you can't work on your communication issues and then still sit silent when you need to speak up about something. It doesn't work. You know, you've got to actually set the boundaries, have the conversations, make the changes in your life, change the habits. The healing will help with all that, and it will help you gain clarity and make it easier. But it comes back down to your behavior for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the big message I got from the community was just the daily practice. They call it practice because you have to practice, and I think that's where most people fall down. They say, "Oh, that diet didn't work," and you're like, "Really?"
Uh-huh.
And it's giving the body enough time to respond, you know, and that's and obviously apart from the practice, then you've got the opening up and the letting go of the old as well, and the dropping the resistance to the I don't want to change, I like it. Well, let us talk. I've just spent this week at this amazing festival Bubble in Malta, and it just got me really excited about the Goddess Gathering. Obviously, just the sheer luxury of being together with like-minded people, these amazing workshops, and just, you know, just that time, really, isn't it, to yourself, to connect. So and this year we've got the 4 days. We've got the Qigong, which I just absolutely love. I'm going to really get more into that. And then Sukali, the songstress, and then of course you're arriving. Well, you guys, are you doing something on the Friday night? We need to kind of get that in the actual.
Yes, we do. We'll figure it out.
Can you hear me?
Oh, it was breaking up a little bit there.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? You guys are coming, you and Julia and Alina, and you're going to be doing, aren't you, is it the Friday night? I think we decided.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. So we'll put something together. We'll organize it. What I like about the three of us is we're all really different from each other. We've got really different focuses in life, but when we come together, there's always some magic. So we'll create some magic for the space. Everybody's ready for it.
It's your third Goddess Gathering, like mine. Yeah. So tell me how it's affected your business, because obviously you're an entrepreneur. You'd set up something that, you know, for certainly 8 years ago was pretty new and out there in terms of, you know, not many people were doing it. How it's contributed to your network and to your business.
Yeah, well, because I am mainly based in Edinburgh. I mean, I've traveled around the UK and other places to teach classes, but my main base was in Edinburgh. So going through to the west side, got a whole new group of people to connect with, which was great. And it's an opportunity. Yeah, it's creating that network and those new connections and people that you might not have met otherwise. So it has helped my business in terms of people knowing more about me, but it's also helped me to connect with new people and others that I wouldn't have met before that are now part of my world. So, and yeah, and as you're saying, it's just a beautiful space, and it's, you know, I can't fault it. It's, it's such a lovely place to be. So, and you get an opportunity to connect in healing ways and talk about, you know, consciousness and things like that. But it's also a space to just relax and connect with people and create friendships, which is hugely important too. So that like-minded group, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. And I think for like, well, if you're buying a ticket, obviously you're not buying a ticket if you're actually presenting, but for sort of £500 to be in a 5-star resort, 4 days of these amazing speakers and seminars. And, you know, when you think of how far you would get in terms of marketing with £500, a couple of Facebook ads, you know, it's just so, for me, I mean, it's a slower burner, obviously, usually, maybe not always. But yeah, it's a kind of expanding network. And I think certainly you and Alina and Julie and other friends that I've made, which has been really nice for me, you know, being back in Scotland and being able to have people that, you know, really understand me. Don't think I'm a mental old hippie, or do you?
No.
Such a beautiful.
Not at all. That's a funny way to describe yourself.
Portavadie is just such a beautiful location. I don't know, I think the internet's a bit dodgy. You're not hearing me.
Oh wait, I think it's back now.
I'm just saying how beautiful Portavadie is for people that have not been there. 3-hour drive from Edinburgh, 2-hour drive.
It really is stunning.
Really is. I mean, it's just, as soon as people get there, they just go, ah.
It's beautiful. The drive is beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is that way. And the spa, the infinity pool, and the hot tub outside is, you know, that's not a bad way to live. So yeah, it's a lovely, lovely space. It's really, yeah, and it is, as you're saying, it's a space where you come, and as soon as you arrive, you just feel your body relax. You just feel stuff. So the healing, that healing process starts before we even get started. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Alina said that she's had quite major things happened in her life after the gathering, because there is just that huge letting go. Obviously, you've got me banging on about it, you banging on about it. You've the whole vibe. So, no, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward. I've got lots of good things to look forward to, which is great. And we talked briefly about the potential of a festival in Scotland next year. At Kilburn Castle, hopefully the end of August or the first weekend in September. So where we're going to bring, you know, to possibly a more, you know, easy to get to location where you can bring your kids, etc., and bring everybody together and bring all this kind of new stuff and fun stuff that you can do to really help yourself. So that's going to be next year's fun and laughter. And I met I said, yeah, I'd love to be involved, and it's just so nice. It's just a whole community setting up with people who just genuinely want to live in love and peace. Doesn't really seem that much to ask, does it?
Yeah. Well, I think, and it's as you're saying, we're in this energy now where people are really ready for this, and that the work I've been doing the last couple months, and the ceremony that I'm going to do at the gathering on the Sunday morning is around the service of leadership. And it really is about people doing things like this and saying, okay, where are the gaps? Where are we falling short? What are we not doing that's actually going to help people? And having that courage to really step up and live that purpose. So I think, you know, with the Goddess Gathering and then the Heal Scotland community, all these things that have been evolving with you over the years, it really is this opportunity for, you know, this tribe and this group to really be stepping up and saying, okay, well, what are we all willing to do with this? How are we willing to support this and help it grow? So I think it's a perfect time to be doing it. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, listen, as you and I said earlier, we could talk all day and possibly.
Yep.
Thank you so much for carving out some time for me, and I will will see you in a few weeks for...
Yes, I know, it's soon, isn't it?
They're so away. So
I'm excited.
So much.
Thank you too.
You can, I'll put some links to your website. If there's anything else coming up that you feel is important for people to know, or anything else, then just drop me a link. Okie dokie.
Great, we'll do. All right, thanks so much, Lilia.
Lovely to see you.
You too.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.